There was a lot of violence, there was incest, there was neglect. It was a really, really, really bad childhood. My father was very, very violent. When it came to the sexual abuse, and I went to my mother and I pulled on her arm and I said, "Mom, please make him stop." She said, "He's just tickling you." She shooed me away.
This is Khalil Rafati. He is a multi-millionaire and the founder of Sun Life Organics, a famous organic juice chain in Southern California. But before he gained success, let's look at how he grew up. He is a former homeless drug addict, and he faced a series of challenges early on in his life. Firstly, he did not have a happy childhood. His father was very abusive and used to sexually harass young Khalil. As he grew up, he struggled with drug addiction, eventually leading to a life of homelessness and despair. Rafati's lowest point was when he found himself living on the streets of Skid Row, which is notorious for its homelessness and drug-related issues. He used various kinds of drugs, including heroin, marijuana, and cocaine. At his lowest point, Khalil confesses that he wanted to take his own life.
Unfortunately, the sexual abuse continued as well until I was 11 years old. There was somebody that I really, really looked up to. His name was Brian. He was my swim coach. I loved him. I looked up to him. He had a really beautiful girlfriend. He had 2 cool kids. He had convinced my mother that it was a good idea to take me camping. After that camping trip, I never laughed at his jokes again. I never felt safe again. And that was the beginning of my spiral downward.
10 years old, I was already running around with older kids in the neighborhood and trying to take puffs off their joints.
Your turn.
Then all of a sudden, 11 years old, 12 years old, now I'm chugging beers. Man, I was looking for attention any way I could get it, whether it was vandalism or shoplifting.
I think the obsession and the addiction has gotten more powerful as the years have gone by. You have a smell on your body that is so disgusting that it's unbearable. And the only thing that you can do at that point is get high.
Drugs and alcohol were absolutely necessary. The panic and anxiety attacks that started when I was about 13 years old were unrelenting. So self-medicating myself all throughout my teens and 20s was paramount. I would have died without drugs and alcohol. Suicidal ideation was a constant.
He was abused and sexually harassed by his father, and there was no one to help him. It was just too much to handle at such a young age. That's why he began drinking alcohol, smoking cigarettes, and using pot at the age of 10, which made his life darker each day. Due to the environment he lived in, he started to believe that he was a victim. This led him to repeatedly make the same wrong choices, and as a result, his life spiraled further into ruin. Ultimately, he started to do heroin and he ended up living on the streets. But all of a sudden, he decided that he needed a change. Let's see how he went through his drug addiction and how he achieved such a great success.
So that mom that I hated all my life, that mom that I resented, the mom that didn't protect me, I got a phone call when I was about 8 months clean and sober. She told me that she had cancer and I had no money. I couldn't go visit her and I couldn't help her. I couldn't do anything for her. And I went home that night and I cried and I sobbed and I broke down and I shattered. And I laid in a puddle on the floor. In that sadness, in that lowest point of my life, came the realization. This woman did the best that she could. She did the best that she could. About 30 days after hearing about her cancer and coming to the realization that I was responsible for everything going on in my life, good and bad. Coming to that realization that everything going on in my life, good and bad, was on me, not because of the neglect and the violence that I witnessed. I got high because it felt great. I got high because it felt great. I got high because I'm selfish. I got high because my feelings and the way I feel is way more important than anyone else. That's what no one ever wants to talk about. I woke up to that realization, and in an instant, in that lowest point in my life, I snapped out of my victim mentality.
Dove headfirst into 12-step programs. I went to meetings every single day, twice a day. So I went back to washing cars, which I was great at. I started cleaning people's apartments. In order for me to change, in order for me to start living a new life, there had to be a paradigm shift. I got a sponsor. I did exactly what my sponsor wanted me to do. He made me do the cleanup commitments at meetings. He made me do the coffee and cookie commitment. And don't buy those disgusting little cookies. Get them nice cookies. Get them nice coffee.
Since he was a child, he kept looking for a way out to avoid the unbearable reality. Deep down in his mind, he thought to himself, well, I was raised this way, so I might as well die this way. He continued making the wrong choices and lived a miserable life until he reached his mid-30s. But all of a sudden, he decided to change. While lying in a puddle, he destroyed his victim mentality, and as he was resurrected as a new man, he started attending rehabilitation meetings. His soul and his being was being cleansed, and little by little, he was building self-esteem and decided to become 1% better every day. He told himself over and over to stop being a victim, stop feeling sorry for himself, and go help others who are less fortunate than him. After 5 years of commitment, he decided to become a sponsor to others, and at that point, he thought to himself that he would open a facility for people who need of help. This recovery program, which was a great success, was his first business, and as the business became successful, he gained confidence and he decided that he would start a juice bar where everything is organic. It was challenging at first. He didn't have money for a sign, he didn't have money for shelves. He had no confidence that people would show up. Later on, the juice bar turned out to be a tremendous success, shaping him into the person that he is today. These days, young people put so much pressure on themselves, thinking they need to succeed while they are still young. So they begin searching for the quickest ways to make a substantial amount of money. However, in reality, you need to put in substantial work to earn a substantial amount of money. As Steve Harvey said, ain't no elevator to the top, you got to take the stairs. There's no doubt that effort is required to achieve great success. However, if we examine Khalil's life, in his mid-30s, he was homeless and struggling with drug addiction. Yet, by the age of 40, he had overcome these challenges and was successfully running his own business. If someone like Khalil, who has a past as such, can succeed at the age of 40, why can't you? Khalil says that he is 52 and he is in the greatest shape of his life. I want you to understand that it's never too late to succeed, no matter how old you are. Now let's see how Khalil's first day of business went.
I was really scared. It's the day before we're supposed to open, and these kids walk in. My partner at the time was like, oh, we're not open yet. I'm like, actually, do you guys like frozen yogurt? They like go to pull their wallet out. I'm like, oh, no, we don't even have our POS system. The lady's like, no, this is ridiculous. Like, they have to pay you. And I'm like, no, please let me just do this. I'm opening tomorrow. You guys are kind of like my first customers. Can you please just let me do this? Because I need to feel good right now. She's like, wow. Okay. And like 10 minutes later, she walks back in and she goes, could you come outside for a moment? The kids just wanted to say something to you. And so it always makes me emotional. I go to walk outside. They were a choir and they launch into these hymns of praise. And I start crying because I'm so scared it's not going to work. All the neighbors, all the co-tenants start coming out and they're all filming it. And these kids are like belting out these songs of worship. And I just knew it was going to work. Woke up in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, went there, like trying to put everything together. Still super like nervous, but had the faith from the experience with the kids. There was a line out the door all day. And that line out the door never went away. And Sun Life took off, but it got its own momentum. There'll be 13 locations with another 5, 6, 7 coming. Had I not gone through everything I went through, I couldn't be who I am today.